Today we are driving the all-new Mercedes C Class and we're going to fill you in with all the details. Electric or combustion engine, what's the strategy here with the new C Class with Mercedes? Then, is this one here one of the best new electric sedans? How does it compare to the all-new BMW i3? And is the extra price worth it in comparison to the smaller brother, the Mercedes CLA? And a third interesting question is as well to the Mercedes GLC electric, the SUV brother. They share the technology, but how do they actually compare? A lot of things to find out for you here today, including, of course, a first range test on the motorway. Is this one of the new range kings then here in the EV segment? We're going to find out with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the all-new C-Class. In this case here, an all-new electric platform. The combustion engine will run further so far and will soon also get a facelift. We'll keep you updated with that. Then here, the electric one gets this combustion engine style grille introduced with the GLC EQ. So former classic Mercedes design, in this case here also then illuminated. You don't get it with the standard base version outline, and the star is also illuminated. If you're in North America or in China, you also get the ring around as well illuminated. It's not allowed in Europe, strange regulations sometimes, of course. Optional, the digital light. This is the most sophisticated matrix LED they have here, and then also with the star pattern design on the inside. Sodalith blue is this blue color here, which is not the brightest one. You would also get this clear blue that is a little bit brighter, but very interesting nuances here. And very cool feature is definitely that you here can press the logo here on the crest, and then you can open the trunk. And this is a fairly large trunk, can not only house charging cables but even luggage, nice floor mat inside, gas struts. So it's a very handy feature, and that's, for example, better if you compare it to the BMW i3. There the C-Class has a more practical trunk. The length here is at 4.88 meters or 192 inches. That is 13 to 16 centimeters or 5 to 6 inches longer than Mercedes CLA, the BMW i3 and also the combustion engine C-Class. Most of that extra length is wheelbase. However, we won't have so much more interior space because one of the key things was that they wanted to keep the long hood, especially in contrast to the Mercedes CLA. Here they want to keep the more classic C-Class design. 18 to 20 inch wheels, these are the largest wheels, or one of the largest wheels here in this case. Of course, different stylings are available, and you don't have this typical three-box design. It has a more floating roofline, let's take it that way, in comparison to the combustion engine model. Then the rear design has this black panel, which is not one of my favorite designs, honestly. And these round structures inside are actually a cool idea, I feel, but then they should have carried out completely round. Like, why do they cut it off here? Like with the new AMG GT, they made it round completely, just do a complete circle. C400, this is how they start. 4MATIC, that means the all-wheel drive. There will be a rear-wheel drive version as well, or rear-wheel drive versions, and then all-wheel drive versions with electric motor in the rear and also in the front. This one you accelerate in 4 seconds, 0 to 1 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour. That is performance-like. I mean, it's already then basically in AMG styling, right? The charging flap is here on the other side, and we have the battery capacity of 94.5 kilowatt hours net. This is how they start. Later they will also, some insects are also interested in us here in the vehicle, and later they will also go with an 85 kilowatt hour NMC battery. This will be a little bit lower in the entry price. The pricing, by the way, will then start below 63,000 euros for that smaller battery. Here, that larger battery will be at 67,000 euros in the entry price. However, if you do full spec and everything, all-wheel drive, interior, rear exit steering, air suspension, which is also one of the major options, rear exit steering up to 4.5 degrees in the opposite direction. Airmatic air suspension goes lower than at higher speeds, for example, giving you good comfort in all situations. Full spec, 95,000 euros, and that's of course then a quite hefty price. Then here the charging flap we have right here, this electric 11 or 22 kilowatt AC charging. DC charging goes up to 330 kilowatt, and you do 22 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge. I mean, that smaller battery, when you just do a difference of around 10 kilowatt hours, not sure what that's the meaning of that, but of course they want to keep the entry price a little bit lower. But price, I mean, yeah, you do pay for these extra features like the rear exhaust steering and the airmatic air suspension is one package, by the way. And also here's one of the big differences to the CLA, because a fully spec'd CLA versus a fully spec'd electric C-Class is 20,000 euros difference, so this then way more expensive. Yeah, and the GLC EQ, or GLC Electric as they call it now, they get rid of this EQ naming. It's of course the SUV brother, and they share more or less all of their technology. Is really the difference, do you want an SUV body type or do you want this rather sedanish body type? Of course, it will have a massive effect on how you sit in the interior. One thing in advance before we get to our extensive driving part, look at that. Here, I want to test the rear axle steering. Just mentioned that 4.5 degrees in the opposite direction, and here. That's enough to turn the car around. Wow. That is of course super helpful when parking in and out and so on. Wow, amazing. And the white vehicle for you, and two different interesting differences here. This one is not the AMG line. You can see here this lower graphic right there. And this one is the AMG line. Then you have this black frame around and a different graphic right there. So this is one of the main differences. And then another interesting difference, you maybe have already seen that. This is the normal grille as we also had on our main vehicle in the bright chrome scheme. But you can also optionally get here this dark chrome styling. And this looks a little bit more sinister. Leah has already told me that she prefers this darker, sportier look. Yeah, tell me, what do you think? This is the key fob, and we have real door handles. And at this point, it's only available without keyless go, which of course doesn't make any sense. So you always have to press on the key fob, open and close, or with the smartphone. Yeah, but in future it will be. So, because at the moment it's logic, normal door handles, no keyless go. With keyless go, you have the flush door handles, which are kind of like annoying to most of us. But I think it's also better looking with that one, and also better haptic feedback. And for safety, I think it's also always better. Then also nice door closing sound, that's fine. There we go. In the rear actually even better. So I hope then that it's soon available with the combination of keyless go and the real door handles. Inside of the doors, everything nicely covered with the soft leather red. Here then in the bright styling, there are of course different colors available. 4 window levers in contrast to the CLA. Only hardback is then here in the lower inside door pockets. You move the seats right here. So it's also nice control. Optional Burmester sound system, 3D sound. It's awesome sound. You have to go for that one. One of the best in the industry at this moment. Then steering wheel is also then in this case here an animal-free material, which is even softer than the animal leather. It's also available in the AMG styling with 2 spokes, and return of the real rockers and rollers here, left and right side, for example, and for the volume. They're good that they listen to the customers there. Here, all the way black, large panel. I'll soon explain you the screen logic. Separate head restraints here for the comfort seat. The sport seat would have integrated head restraints. Then the lower seating area, this is supposed to be always the same in the seating depth. Here the animal-free, the Autogefühl material. It's actually a little bit softer than the animal skin, so more comfort. And Mercedes even themselves confirm that. So they apply some extra foam underneath the animal skin material to make the softness difference a little bit less between the new materials and the animal skin. However, me personally, I would here actually go, if it's available in your market, for the base fabric seat. You have fabric on the inside that's even more passively breathable. Or in the sport seat, you have a microfiber. These are my 2 favorite materials here, because in the leather red material, BMW, for example, is even better. They have even softer, more nicer to touch material for the seat. The steering wheel is actually really nice. I would like more like maybe the steering wheel material on the seat here. The advantage here is that for this one here, the full article, you can also get seat ventilation, which is not available for the fabric or for the microfiber seat, sadly. And if you go for this one here, you always should get the ventilation. Fabric or microfiber, you can also live without ventilation. And then here, 1.89 m, 6'2". There's still some headroom left. And this is then here the panoramic roof, and there you can also change these shades when you have the vehicle switched on. Then the cockpit, either you would start screen-wise with a separation here and just a screen here which doesn't have much functionality. Next step would be a full passenger display, and then the third step is that the screen goes all the way through and that you don't have the bezels in between. You only have these bezels on the top, and of course it looks very impressive. Yet again, the costs are then higher for this again. So definitely a screen focus, but the infotainment system itself runs actually quite quickly. Difference to the GLC electric is of course that in the SUV, in the GLC, you sit more upright. Here you sit more in the vehicle, and it's electric platform, so your feet are also quite high. So I would say it's not the most ideal seating position for tall drivers. Me personally, I don't feel much difference to the CLA. A little bit more comfort, yes, seating-wise, but the CLA more or less has the same problem. So the GLC electric then better for tall people when you talk about the seating position. And the BMW i3, I feel it has better seating comfort from the base ergonomic of the seats and also from the leatherette material. As I said, my tip would be to go here for the fabric or the microfiber seat than here in this case. This glass roof here has this electric tinting effect, so I can make it clear like this. It will not change the heat impact. It will only be less glare, so to speak, or you can also have this special effect here, this motive special effect. The heat protection is actually quite good. You still feel the heat, yes, and the closed roof would still be colder. But for a glass roof, it's one of the best in the filtering of the heat. We tested that already with the GLC electric with the SUV form. Then we also have different decor elements here. This nice matte surface. It's maybe not my favorite in the styling, but you can pick different ones. The important thing is that you don't have to use high gloss black. That's actually quite cool. One real button also for the drive mode selection. That's pretty cool. In the sport mode, the suspension goes a little bit lower and stiffer, but it also does so at higher speeds. Inductive charging pad is also 2 times and also ventilated. However, the phone still overheats, so I would still use the cable charging here in the lower part. Just put the phone then there, for example. Cup holders are not like in the S-Class facelift. These are still the old school cup holders which don't really hold bottles tight, so they need to hold the bottles tighter definitely. Split armrest right here with some more space underneath. Oh, and the steering wheel control here, by the way, is up and down, in and out, and also electric. And this is how you can easily put in the gears. You can always see the box of the head-up display, so you can also get this head-up display. And here now, as a comparison, the sport seats with microfiber on the inside, leatherette on the outside. So the sport seats have here more shoulder and hip support here. The side support here is more intense. Looks cooler, I feel. And I also think the microfiber material is also a little bit more comfortable in the seating, I would say. The head restraint here on top is somewhat intricate. You can move it forward and backward a little bit. You see it's not too high, but let's say high enough. So indeed, if you ask me, I would probably go either for the base fabric seats or then here for the microfiber seats from all that are available. Yeah, I think because the surface material is a little bit maybe like more adaptive, so to speak, it's even a little bit more comfortable here then. Driver POV, we have the digital instruments here, and you can also click them through left and right, change a little bit from the use assistance systems view, for example, or also in the map view, and it will also allow to show a display map of Apple CarPlay, Android Auto and so on. Then the main infotainment unit is easy to understand. There's the main menu right here, good icons, and just the climate unit is a little bit small. Then 2-level design here for seat heating, steering heating. For these seats, as I said, there will also be seat cooling available, and these are all the vehicle settings right there. And to cancel this EU speed chime law, either press here in the top left part, or what you can also do is here press and hold the volume button. And it's really astonishing. The combination of CarPlay and Google Maps was never possible to have that one then in the instruments. Now it is in the GLC electric and the C-Class electric. So that's pretty cool. Otherwise it would have worked with Apple CarPlay and Waze and Apple CarPlay and Apple Maps and the Android Auto and Google Maps. But now the combination Google Maps and Apple CarPlay works here also in the instruments, so that's well done. Burmester 3D surround system is top notch, gotta say that, definitely. get that one.
Yes.
Here, by the way, the lamination in the windows. So this an acoustic window is an option here in the front. And I have to show you a very peculiar feature. In the inductive charging pad, the phone still tends to overheat, although there is ventilation from underneath. So you might say, I charge the phone with a cable here from underneath. Either you put your phone there, or there is a secret. We know it from the CLA as well. And then here, you can push the cable through from underneath. There we go. That looks like an alien is popping out now through the stomach. And here, you can remove this rubber pad here. There you can, by the way, see the ventilation. This vehicle is only equipped with one inductive charging pad, by the way, but you see that obviously the second is an option. And then here, there is a small hole in this rubber pad here. Then you can pull through the cable and then fit the rubber pad again, adjust the cable length, and now you can also charge on the top with your cable. Why would you do that? A, the phone doesn't overheat with the cable, and B, it charges even quicker. So I always use the cable actually. The only thing is then I cannot pull it straight here. I have to put it like this, then not two phones fit next to each other. So then the question is, would you do that or just leave it below? Tell me in the comments which of these three charging possibilities would you actually use. Rear seats, here the material is soft touch, top part here as well, nice build quality like that. Burmester sound system, one of the best of the markets. And here hardback in the lower part. Then the nice soft seat material here as well, Isofix outsides each. Then falling down this one, soft and smartphone or cup holders. Two USB-C chargers here in the rear. And relatively even small hump, so to speak. And then although this one here is longer than CLA, i3 and the combustion engine, it does not really house more legroom. I feel rather less. I mean, this is a seat as I would be driving as a tall person. You see it hardly fits. Also, I would need to put the seat higher that my feet come underneath. And also due to the electric platform, there's a battery underneath. The feet are relatively high standing than the knees here. So there you see that this is way more practical with the GLC electric than this one here. I can already tell you will have further range, more range than the GLC electric because, you know, it's lower and so on, less against the wind. That's the advantage. But here, seating comfort, both front and the rear, is definitely worse. It's still okay here with 1A962. This does leave some headroom there. The glass roof, you can see how it really spans all over, all across the vehicle. But yeah, in the rear, it's not the specialty of the C-Class, definitely not. It does have a floating roofline, however. It does have a separate trunk. Here you flip the logo and then it opens like this. It is, by the way, manual here, so there's no electric function to that or something. I'm fine with that. But if you want it more comfortable, here, this is an option in this vehicle here. This trim, the trunk also closes with this electric function. I mean, you don't really need it, but the question is, why is this an option? And then here, this one still fits in vertical, the trolley. Then we have a width of less than 1 meter or 40 inches, a normal length of a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches, and the height here is at 19 inches or 48 centimeters. Underneath we have actually substantial space in here in this pocket, so that's nice. 470 liters, it's overall. And then we can plop, plop, have a remote folding mechanism. That's cool. And the i3, for example, does not have that. And then here we have the total length of 1 meters 80 or 71 inches. Let's start driving in the Mercedes C-Class electric. And Leah is very excited already because of the air suspension. She loves the air suspension. Aww. Yeah, you feel. I mean, we have the 20-inch wheels here, so more comfort, of course, always with smaller wheels. But oh, some bumps here. I mean, it's not that soft that you would have like a wobbling feeling or something like that. No, it is still a sporty vehicle, even already in the comfort mode, but with this air suspension, it's the optional package then together with the rear axle steering we have here as well. So when we went out of that airport parking, you could also feel the car coming around in the rear just a little bit. Beautifully done and very smooth. We have the lamination here in front, not in the rear, but at least in the front. And that already gives us here a very, very calm and sophisticated drive. It's very, very silent. Here also when some cars are passing. Blind spot monitor, by the way, in the side mirror. Let's do a first lane change here. So smooth, so smooth. Yeah, smoothness is really the thing. And then of course we had so many questions about driving. So how does it differ from the GLC electric, the SUV rather? How does it differ to Mercedes C-Class combustion engine? And how does it differ to the BMW i3? And I will also talk about these points here in this whole driving part. And all of them are super interesting, and even to us, you know,
I'm excited too.
Yeah. we might think about, hey, maybe we go for a C-Class electric now. I don't know. Gotta say though, talked about in the interior part, when you have long legs like we do, then the SUV seating position, where you just sit more upright, is of course a more practical, more comfortable one in comparison to this lower sitting sedan style. And the battery in the lower floor is also higher, moves your feet a little bit more up. That is definitely one thing to consider, or take a test seat when you are at a dealer or something. So yeah, that's the one thing, you know. Then again, on the other side, I mean, already when you're doing some lane change here, when it's a little bit, you know, in slower driving, it feels sportier than the GLC, and for, you know, agile, going up a mountain pass or something like that, it will be better, because when you sit lower, it's always better for the passenger, especially in agile driving. And the battery is in the lower part of the vehicle. That means the center of gravity is also very low. That's of course common then with all EVs. If you ask me about the difference to the combustion engine C-Class, this one here feels more refined, smoother. It is powerful. I'll soon do an acceleration. We have 4 seconds. Just so I took the wrong. But it was construction site, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, we have time to drive it now for you today. So we also had it with the GLC electric versus the GLC combustion. C-Class and GLC drive very well in the combustion engine spec, no doubt about that. Here they can be more powerful, at the same time smoother. Here I can show you. Here when you go sport mode, 40 to 80 kilometers an hour. Hold tight. That's it. Wow. Yeah, about that.
Bottles flying.
Yeah, water bottles flying all over the place. Wow. Yeah, so it is.
But it's fun.
It's fun.
Not that
It's
you
fun.
get
Yeah.
sick, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Here, by the way, when you switch through remotes, you can do it with the knob here, so they don't have to do everything in the screen. That you can rest your hand here or keep it at the steering wheel. In the sport mode, the air suspension also goes a little bit stiffer, a little bit sportier style, but not that it would be uncomfortable. So if I would then drive with Leah up this mountain pass road, I would probably go sport mode.
Yeah.
That it stays more
And
upright.
a really good question is, do you need an S-Class? Or is this enough? It's really a good question,
Yeah. I mean, good point. Good one point from Leah. Do you need an S-Class? Well, the air suspension is the S-Class air suspension.
Yeah, that's what I felt, yeah.
That's what you feel. I have to say though that the seats are more comfortable in the S-Class, like the seat form, the ergonomics. We had that recently with the new fabric, for example. It was pretty cool. I felt it. You have a little bit more space to sit in also when you're tall. That is, I would say, the main dip, and of course in the rear. But in the front, I mean, from this whole driving experience and so on, this is already really, really sophisticated S-Class level. Leah is absolutely right. It's just, I would say, the seat itself, what I would more appreciate in the S-Class, especially. Here you also have the Burmester 3D surround system, which I actually feel in this newest iteration is even probably one of the best overall. This panoramic roof is once again not getting too hot. We realized that with the GLC electric. Can I actually see the traffic light now? There. Yeah. Thank you so much. Additional one for me. Also here, this typical situation when you're going left from the traffic light, and then there's like, you know, the road is going like this, and then it's that the rain can flow to the right and the left, and then you're going like this, you know, in the corner, but over a small hump. And sometimes these cars that are not so sophisticated are going and then like this, but this one here is so smooth then. So smoothness is to me the main thing that describes this driving feeling, and you've just seen it with the first acceleration. I can soon do a second one. if you still enjoy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. A good sign that she still enjoys the acceleration. So you have power on demand, actually more than most could sustain. There will be the rear-wheel drive version of the big battery as well. I can tell you already so far, this will be super sufficient. You don't need the all-wheel drive for this one here unless you need it for winter driving or something. But yeah, or you can put it in eco mode that it doesn't push so hard. When we were driving the GLC electric with the same drivetrain, we were predominantly putting it individual and then softer suspension, but the drivetrain to eco, that it was not so fast because it's just too fast. I mean, even in the comfort mode, when you're doing like, that's 60 to 80 in like a second or something, you know, and that's already it. So that's pretty cool. Here now one more lane change, nicely done. Assistance systems, by the way, this is a very good point. So here, when I activate it, limiter, oh, there we go. So now we can set it here on the left side with physical dials. Really appreciate to have that. It seems to me that they deactivated the active lane keeping assistance.
Why would you do that? But yeah.
Yeah, maybe because they expect some, maybe annoyed by that. But we, of course, there it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's my the personal assistant called Leah. I was like, hey Leah, could you please activate the active steering wheel assist? Yes, no problem.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah. So I need to change the pitch of my voice. Yeah. So here now, actively keeping me in the lane in a very smooth way. So elaborated assistance systems here with tipping. Then it does also this semi-autonomous lane change in a very smooth way. So already at a very good level. I like that, appreciate it. That's the only thing where BMW is leading Mercedes at the moment. BMW already offers a level 2 hands-off feature. This one is supposed to get it later, like this GLC electric, but you cannot order it now in the filming at this review, and you will also need special hardware for it. So it's very crucial to know that you cannot retrofit that. As soon as you're able to order this one, the new, it's like you get some additional cameras then in this package. When you can order this, then you directly have it, but you need this special hardware. That's why it's not possible to order one now with the existing hardware and then retrofit it. That's very important to know. So, and the BMW assistance systems are even smoother in the whole integration and so on. But that's really like very good level versus top level, you know. Once again, super smooth experience here on the Finnish motorway here today. So special shout out also to our fans in Finland. Nice landscape here, of course, always in Finland, and supposed to be the happiest people on earth. I'm pretty sure it just has to do with going to the sauna very often.
Yeah.
It must be that. It must be that.
And
definitely.
the ice bath afterwards.
Yeah, and the ice baths after that. Yeah. Be careful with that one, definitely, that they don't sink in the ice. Yeah, such a cool and smooth experience here on the motorway even, and I'm also looking forward to so much. At some point we can also drive it on the German Autobahn and then really like, you know, floor it out to the maximum and see what we can score then as for consumption.
Road trip.
And yeah, road trip maybe for you as well. That's always very interesting, and also with the charging test and so on. But we've done it with the GLC electric, and that one was working very well, quick in charging, good on the road trip. And here also, when you're driving a little bit faster on the motorway, then the air suspension goes a little bit lower, improving the efficiency. So that was also the thing where what we had GLC electric versus iX3, that the GLC got more and more efficient in relation the faster you would go. One thing is this going down with the air suspension, and the other factor is that we have here once again a 2-speed gearbox. That means at speeds here now like 80, 90, 100 kilometers an hour, then like 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, it goes in the second gear to be more efficient than at higher speeds. That's a very good system. You do not feel it when you're going for a launch control, because then in that case it would put the first gear until like 100 or something and then shift later. But usually it shifts up then a little bit earlier than that, and you can also then profit from this efficiency. So honestly, hardly anything to do better in the driving behavior here from this vehicle. The only thing I would really feel, yes, as a tall person, I sit better in an SUV than in a sedan, naturally. The electric sedans also make it even more a little bit crucial because of the battery pack in the lower floor. And so we had covered this difference GLC electric, or special like small, more real the seating position, you know, and this one then drives a little bit sportier. Then the combustion engine, this one here drives even smoother, and that's of course a very cool experience and more sophisticated in a way. And now to the BMW i3. I would say the i3 is tuned for more sportiness from the general setup. And the seats, again, they are more comfortable. So suspension here is more comfortable, way more comfortable than in the i3, which does not offer an air suspension. And later we can test the adaptive suspension there. So they only standard and adaptive. Here is standard or then the air suspension with the rear axle steering. So suspension-wise, Mercedes leads it in comfort. Seat comfort-wise, I find the i3 again way better. From how the seat is basically in the car and in the whole ergonomics and so on. It again, however, suffers from the same thing, that the floor is a little bit higher because of this electric version than the i3. So that's actually for both. But yeah, there's always things to consider. The i3 then has the larger battery, will have more range, especially at lower speeds. The higher speed you go, the higher the speed is, the less difference is then between the range of this one here and the i3. But then the question is suspension or seating comfort more important to you? That's one of the key elements then here. So very happy from the first driving impressions here with the new C-Class electric then overall. Now to our first efficiency and real-world range test. Nice, very warm temperatures here today in Finland. So like 24, 25 degrees Celsius, so towards the high 70s, towards the 80s in Fahrenheit. And here at 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, we're at 15 kilowatt hours in 1 kilometers, 4.1 miles per kilowatt hour, would mean a real range of 630 kilometers or 390 miles. And then at 120 kilometers an hour, 75 miles an hour, 16.5 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometers, 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour, means a real range at that speed 570 kilometers or 360 miles. Bottom line, before you have to charge this car, you will have to go and take a wee. That's the thing, you know, so the range will not be the limiting factor with this car ever, probably. And even more interesting, first of all, you might have noticed in the differences here, how come there's such a small difference between the consumption at 100 and 120 kilometers an hour? Well, the air suspension lowers the vehicle at higher speeds. Then the two-speed gear concept is already in the higher gear. And the sedan concept, of course, makes it less prone to the wind. And also if you compare it then to the GLC EQ, so we save at 100 kilometers an hour some 3 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometers, where this one is more efficient. And if you go faster, even though we only have the comparing value here, the GLC at 130 kilometers an hour or 80 miles an hour, and the C-Class here at 120 with 75 miles an hour, it's still 4.5 kilowatt hour difference, so the difference is larger, means it would be even larger if we also had the value now at 130 for the C-Class. So definitely the faster you go, the more the difference is in the consumption between the SUV and the sedan. A super, super efficient sedan. The question is, of course, what's more important to you? So this will have more range and will drive sportier than the GLC EQ, the SUV. Then again, how you sit on the interior is better for tall people. You are more comfortable than in the SUV body types. Then to the i3, this one here has air suspension and rear axle steering, more comfort from suspension. Yet again, the i3 from BMW has better assistance systems, hands-off on the motorway already, for example, and also better seating comfort, but then rougher suspension. And in comparison to the CLA, here you get the more classic styling from the exterior, longer hood and so on. Not necessarily more space overall, but more luxury features like the rear axle steering and the air suspension mainly. Yet again, 20,000 euros difference in the full spec C-Class versus CLA. So on the logical part, of course, it does not make sense. but the ride is really super comfortable and sophisticated. You also have acoustic windows here in the front as an option, also an advantage in comparison to the CLA and to the i3. So very interesting aspects about the all-new electric C-Class, and soon again more how the combustion engine will be continued, but not on this platform here, as I said. Tell me, what do you think now in the comments, and join our recent GLC EQ or electric versus the BMW iX3, or the direct competitor here, the sedan, the BMW i3, in our first review.